Shalom. Welcome. Last time we learned an important principle. To reach the level of prayer that rules, we have to overcome two obstacles. The first is, I come from a great family. I come from important people. We're very smart. We're very holy. We're whatever you think you are. When you approach the creator of the universe, you got to forget all that. Of course, the second obstacle is, I've worked very hard. I've stayed up all night and stayed up all day, and I didn't eat, and I just learned and prayed and learned, and wonderful, awesome. Why do you have to think about it when you're going to pray to the creator? Those two ego obstacles are very deep and embedded in our self because, well, God gave us a spark of his ego. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, right? I am God, you're God. Now, who could say that statement? Only God could say that statement. And so, but he creates room in the universe for us. And that room in the universe is where we get a chance to have an ego too. And then God says, oh, you want to be close to me? You just got to get rid of that ego. So we have to pray like children who know nothing and have done nothing and achieved nothing. No matter how much you have done and how much you've achieved, that type of prayer is what will reach out to the level of ruling in prayer. Okay, and so we pick up in Torah 97 that when we reach that level, then avonot, the sins, become merits, which is an awesome promise for anybody that wants to have a clean slate when they leave this world. For anybody who wants to finish what we began, why we came here, is to fix ourselves, our personalities, to increase the light in the world, to create a better place for man, for all creation. Okay, so once you turn those thoughts of doing the wrong thing, much less the actions of doing the wrong things, through the concentration in prayer and through the love of God and the focus on the meaning of the words, we already break the grip of those sins, those misdeeds. And then what was dark becomes light. Because what is dark? Dark is just something that hides the light. So that light then is revealed in your mind and you're onto a new trip altogether. A very good one. A very positive direction is when you know that you could just focus on the words of prayer and say them like we're talking right now with intent and importantly, Rabbi Natan says, with sincerity is the key quality, he says, to approach Hashem. You have to be sincere. If you're a tourist, well, okay, be a tourist, but it's not going to get you too far. Okay, so once we turn those thoughts around, then the idol worshiping thoughts, and we said also last time that the idol worshiping itself is man idling himself, and those get turned around into machshavot kedoshot shel tefiach v'aidei hazodonot ayinu machshavot zarot, and through these intentionally bad thoughts that you sit and dwell on things, nasim lo kazakuyot, then they become zakuyot, which is the same root of the word for purification, right? You turn something negative to positive, you are purifying the world. Zeu bichinat Ephraim, and this is the idea of the tribe of Ephraim, the son of Jacob, Joseph, right? But actually, Jacob did consider them like his sons because there were 11 brothers, and then they became 12 tribes because Ephraim and Manasseh were like the brother of Joseph split into two because he was really considered greater than his brothers, but less than the patriarchs. Okay. We see this idea of Ephraim, where he brings a verse, the Rebbe does, Ki Ephran Elokim be'eretz oni. Yosef says, you made me fruitful in the land of my poverty, which certainly is like, a guide word you could use for the entire exile. Everywhere the Jews went, they started out poor, and they became very fruitful in their families and in their business. And in all the things that the Jews engage in when they have God's blessing, it's going to happen. So this Yosef was the model of that paradigm. Now, the Rebbe explains further, Ki adavar shaya baniut mikodem, the thing that was in poverty before, da'inu charev v'yavesh, that is destroyed and dried out, dead. V'ayedei hamakshavot kedoshot nasim lo zakiyot. And through the holy thoughts, we actually turn it back around and make them pure again. So you see what's happening is, what basically we have to remember is that God fills the universe, and our minds are little traps to capture the light. And if I turn the light sour by doing the things against the Torah, then I'm just taking the light and making it dark. And so when we do tshuva, we focus in prayer, we focus in learning, and we're sincere, then we remove the darkness that was created by kidnapping the light and trapping it in the thoughts, especially, and the deeds of exile, of that are going against the Torah. So that's the idea of death itself, is that you remove the light. What do you have? What do you have? You remove the soul from a person, lo aleinu. Okay, so that understanding will lead you to also the understanding that why even the rabbis call a tree that dies, it's dried out. It's dried out, which is literally true. If you check out a dead tree, it doesn't have any sap anymore. But the idea of dried out means the taking away of the light of the thing, the living force of it. Now, we turn good thoughts, turn that into merits. And when you pray with these two levels together, Menashe and Ephraim, turning the thoughts, focusing the thoughts and turning them to goodness, turning them back into the light. Then you come to, two very important traits, anava and shiflut. He calls them humility and lowliness, but we're not going to, lowliness is a very weak word in this context. The idea of shiflut is really to lower yourself, the Rebbe says, more than we think we should, or more than we praise ourselves in the light of the rest of the people of this world. In other words, we have to make ourselves smaller because our nature is to want to expand and be big. Look at a little kid, he just puts on that cape, he's Superman in 3 seconds. And he wants to be Superman until he's 120. And he's a multi-billionaire. But that doesn't get you in. It doesn't get you into that hypersonic space that is called heaven. But the Torah will, and the good deeds will, and the good thoughts are the root of all that action. And then that brings us to these good traits of anava, humility and shiflut. And from the anava, we get to the quality that we need very much to serve Hashem properly, which is called yirah. Ekev anava yirat Hashem, the pasuk says. And so it literally means before you can get to anava, you have to have yirah. You have to have awe of what life is, of the universe. And hopefully you'll merit to the awe of the Creator himself. And the yirah is called malchut, as it is written by our sages in Masechet Avot, ilmale mora'ah shemalchut. If it was not for the fear of the kingship, the government, hayim havero ba'alu, right? That the person will swallow up his friend's life, and we don't even want to go there, right? V'nimsa shatefila yesh la bechinat malchut. Therefore, we see that prayer, the act of prayer, has kingship in it, because you're appealing to the great King of all kings. And to do that, you have a lot of anava, humility, purity. You have to have also chutzpah and boldness to stand up and talk to an invisible, infinite God that you don't even know if he's there. But we have faith. Now, and this type of prayer, that comes from this type of action, of movement into the place of anava, has what the Rebbe calls memshalah, government, the power to rule. V'zeu ta'anug shel Hashem yitbarach. I guess of all surprises, and this is God's pleasure. When human beings can get to that level of making yourself humble, making yourself small, it doesn't mean you're nothing in God's eyes. It certainly doesn't mean you're nothing in your neighbor's eyes, or your children's eyes, or your parents' eyes. It means that you realize everything that I have is good, and everything that's not good, I want to get rid of it. I don't want to own it, and I certainly don't want to appropriate or blame anyone else for it. So it's this anava is really the stripping of the false selves to get to your true self, because your true self really is a spark of the Creator. And if we could just hold on to that thought a little bit more than the moment of stating it, the moment we state it, we're already losing it. But that's okay. We live in a quantum universe where we can jump in and out of states. But the state of anava brings your prayer to the power and the rulership and the kingship. The Rebbe says so. Let's take his word on it. And it gives God pleasure. And it male ratzon abore. And guess what? The person is filled with the desire of God, because God is filled with the desire for your prayer. So isn't that a good thing? That your prayer fills God with desire, and he transfers the desire back to you for him. And you have desire, complementing desire, measure for measure. It seems to me this is a good place right now to stop and think and pray for this level of prayer. Pray for the humility. Pray for the boldness to stand before your Creator and forget everything good or great or wonderful about yourself, and be as if you were born this day. And you will see wonders of prayer. And you will have, your greatest desire will be to pray more and to pray for everybody else. Because, there's a lot of people on this planet that have yet to discover the wonder of prayer. All the best. We'll see you again. Got more work to go here.